But I've got a guy here that I need to talk with because he is not only a family friend, but he's in town, and Greg Wagner is a Mizzou alum, and I know that he's loving what I'm talking about right now about the Missouri Tigers. How are you, Wags?
Oh, I'm great, and I'm with you on Locke. I mean, this guy is he's for real. He's fun. I love the fact that he stayed with Mizzou. He could have gone pro. He goes, no way. I'm staying with Mizzou. I'm really looking forward to what bowl they get. I hope they get somebody like LSU or, Ohio State. It'd be great to see Mizzou really show their stuff.
They've got an opportunity to, unfortunately they coughed up that game against South Carolina in the rainstorm, but that would have been a nice win. Then the Kentucky debacle with a terrible call in the end zone at the end of the game. But you're looking at a team that could easily be sitting 8-2. A couple of plays here or there, and they should be getting a prominent bowl game. And, I've been very critical of Barry Odom, but you got to give this man some credit. He's led this team to areas that, you expect from a program like the University of Missouri.
Yeah, I think they love him, too. I think the players really play hard for him.
Yeah, I would agree. He definitely is a player's coach. All right, you were in town. Now, let's go back here to the 70s, okay? Because Greg Wagner was working on a team, and really it was yourself and
an art director, Bob Curry. We're at Darcy, St. Louis, and we had the Cardinals. We also had Budweiser, of course. We did their advertising, but the side fun account was the Cardinals, and Bob and I were the team. It was a small, they didn't have a big budget at the time to advertise, so we had worked on it the year before and made a few promises. I think our slogan was something like, see how we run. and we go in there, and Marty Hendon was the client for the Cardinals. And Marty's like, boys, no promises this year. No promises. What I want is fun at the old ballpark. We need families. Attendance was way down. Believe it or not, that stadium, guys, it was not like there was no Cardinal Nation in those days. And the stadium was a third full for games. We're talking 10, 12,000 people at the old Busch Stadium. So the assignment was, hey, let's attract families. Let's have some fun. So Bob and I'm a writer. Bob's an art director. So we go back to Darcy. We're brainstorming. And I go, you know what we need, Bob? We need a chicken. We need the Philly Fanatic is what we need. We need some, a great mascot. So we kicked it around, and obviously we thought, okay, it's probably going to be a Cardinal. But we thought he's got to be really cool and funky like the chicken or the Philly Fanatic. He's got to have character. So I go home and I bring in a album. My little boy, Jake, loved Big Bird. So I bring in this album. Big Bird leads the band, and it's got a great shot of Big Bird on there. And I show that to my art director, Bob Curry. He goes, oh, this is it. We're going to make this Cardinal look like Big Bird, 7, 8-footer, So that's what we did. Now the next thing was, what are we going to name this guy, And I said, well, we can't call him Cardinal or, something. We got to have a fun name like the Philly Fanatic or the Super Chicken. So we kicked it around, and somehow, I don't know if I said it or Bob said it or our secretary said it, but somebody said, what about Fred Bird? Instead of Redbird, Fredbird. And we're like, that's it, So we go back to the client, and it was Augie Bush. Old Gussie Bush was our client. He was in charge of the Cardinals.
Which is amazing. Let's just put that in perspective. You're sitting in a conference room of some type, and you're literally debating how to engage fans with Gussie Bush. Is that not crazy? Think about that reality.
Yeah, it was, and of course he was a huge Cardinal fan, and he was very, upset that the crowds weren't there. So he was all about, let's get families, let's get kids, that
Do you think he truly believed that this was a route to get fans back into the ballpark, or was he a baseball nut who wanted the product to drive, the business?
Yeah, I think he did, and those were just lean years for recruiting. I don't know if it was the farm system that we weren't getting the players or what, but for some reason, I can't even remember exactly who our stars were back in the mid-'70s. But it came down to the big pitch. We bring in the artwork. We got this cardinal looking like Big Bird and really goofy and gangly, and I revealed the name to Mr. Bush. I said, "Okay, Mr. Bush, meet Fred Bird. Here he is." And Augie Bush just stared at us. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in that room. He was like looking at us like, "Are you guys crazy?" And he says, "No, guys. It's Redbird. That's what we're going to name him, Redbird." And I'm trying to think quick on my feet, and I look at my art director, Bob. I go, "Bob, that's it. Fredbird the Redbird. Why didn't we think of that?" And Mr. Bush says, "Yeah, that's it. Fredbird the Redbird. Yeah, that'll go. That'll fly."
Was he an intimidating presence? I mean, to sit there and pitch an idea to?
All the Bushes were.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the Bushes were, they were a tough audience, and you better have good stuff if you were going to pitch any of the Bushes. This Bud's for you. We came up, that came out of our group.
I mean, they were the hallmark of advertisement. I mean, they really, even to this day, now you could debate that because their team has sort of done some different things. But, I mean, they really were pioneers in establishing a brand that people felt like they could relate to, whether they saw it on television, heard it on the radio, in print, whatever it was. And that was, advertising really was a powerful train for AB.
Oh. The Clydesdales, I mean, that symbol, the red, white, and blue label. I mean, these guys, yeah. And I got to give a lot of credit to our ad agency, Darcy. We came up with a lot of these icons. The frogs, it goes on and on. There were some real breakthroughs in advertising with Budweiser. And, this Bud's for you. They still use that line today. And that came out, that was in the late 70s we came up with that campaign. So, yeah, they were a great client. I'll give them that. They recognized a good idea, what we used to call a big idea. So we always thought, hey, Fredbird's kind of a big idea, And sure enough, good old Fredbird's still kicking around. And, I know the fans like him, and he visits hospitals, and he goes to schools and stuff. So I'm out in Colorado now, so I don't get to see Fred that much, but it was –
the legacy lives on. I mean, it really does. I mean, he's become – Fredbird is almost a brand ambassador now, to where when the Cardinals do these public events – and it's even trickled down to AAA. They've got their own version. I think his name is Rocky. But in Springfield, it's Louis.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, it's all derived from the same idea of Fredbird. But, when they do appearances, Fredbird is there. When they have kids' clinics, Fredbird is there. When they go to hospitals and are able to spend time with kids and elderly folks, Fredbird is there. And it's really become a very fascinating way to turn entertainment into brightening up somebody's day. And that's got to be kind of cool that it's been able to sustain such great legacy.
Yeah. When people say to me, hey, what was the best thing you ever did in your 35 years in advertising? I always go, I think it was Fredbird. So
Fredbird. Well, what an amazing concept, and the idea. Again, I would just like to be a fly on the wall in that meeting with Gussie Bush. I'd love to hear that, because it makes me spur all these ideas of when the Browns were in St. Louis and Bill Veeck was the owner, and initially they were kind of the catapult of what you want a baseball team to be like, and then they started to lose their product. So what did they go to? I mean, Eddie Goodell going up there, the midget at the plate, and guy popping out of a cake, and all these gimmicks that made people show up at the ballpark. I got a documentary for you to watch. I think you would enjoy it. It's called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
And it's about there's an independent team in Portland, and this guy he did all these things, and they sold out every game, and the product was good on the field, but it was really just going for the show. and I think you'd find it interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
Well, when times get tough, you've got to improvise. You got to get creative and come up with some fun stuff. And ever since then, the Cardinals have been really strong. I mean, into the '80s, and of course they started winning, getting in the playoffs and everything. So it's, and I'm still to this day a huge Cardinal fan. So I'm pulling for them. I hope they can pull off a few things next year.
Oh, they could really, they need to get back in the playoffs. First time since the late 90s they've missed the playoffs for 3 straight years, so the pressure is on. Teaching still these days? Boulder?
Teaching at DU, Denver University. Yep, and teach advertising. So, still going at it, still having fun.
I could do 2 hours with you easy. Do this again sometime.
Okay, I'll be back.
Even via the phone, we'll get you on again.
All right.
Greg Wagner, the co-creator of Fredbird. Love it, man.
Thanks, Nate.
Cheers. All right, Greg Wagner joining us here. How about that guy, Newcomb? You can't really beat that. I mean, you got a guy who came up with the concept of Fredbird joining us here on the show.